Have you ever been in a room full of people who genuinely like you and still felt strangely alone? Not rejected, not excluded, just unseen. Like people enjoy your presence, laugh at your jokes, respect your work, but somehow the real you never quite makes it into the room. And that experience messes with your head. Because when people don't like you, at least it makes sense. But when people like you and still don't understand you, your brain starts asking harder questions. Am I hard to read? Am I too much? Am I bad at explaining myself? Is something wrong with me? If that sounds familiar, I want to start by saying this clearly. This is not a social failure. It's not emotional weakness. It's not overthinking. In many cases, it's actually a sign of deeper emotional processing, a nervous system that's wired for nuance, meaning, and complexity in a world that mostly operates on simplicity. And once you understand what's happening psychologically, this experience stops feeling confusing and starts feeling navigable. Let's start with something most people never realize. Being liked and being understood are two completely different psychological experiences. Liking lives in the social brain, understanding lives in the emotional and cognitive brain. Someone can enjoy you, feel comfortable around you, and think highly of you, without actually grasping your inner world, motivations, emotional depth, or how your mind works. Think of it like this. Someone can like a song without understanding the lyrics. They enjoy the sound, but they're not hearing the meaning. And if you're someone whose inner world is layered, emotionally rich, or psychologically complex, people may like the vibe of you, your humor, warmth, intelligence, kindness, while missing the emotional subtext entirely. And that gap hurts. Not because you want attention, but because humans don't just need approval. We need recognition. We need to feel known. And when that doesn't happen, even in friendly environments, your nervous system feels unsettled, like connection is happening, but not landing. Now here's where psychology gets interesting. Some brains process the world in low resolution, others in high resolution. Not intelligence-wise, emotionally and perceptually. Some people naturally scan for tone shifts, emotional subtext, meaning beneath words, unspoken feelings. Their minds are constantly reading between the lines. Others process more literally, more directly, more externally. Not worse, just different. If you're a high-resolution emotional processor surrounded by mostly low-resolution processors, you'll feel chronically misunderstood even when everyone is kind. Not because anyone is failing, but because you're transmitting in HD and they're receiving in standard definition. And the hardest part? They don't realize they're missing anything, but you feel the absence constantly. That's why people might say things like, "But everyone likes you. You're overthinking." They didn't mean anything by that. And you're sitting there thinking, "No, you don't understand. I'm not upset about what happened. I'm upset about what didn't happen. The emotional recognition that never arrived. The depth that never landed." And because this kind of pain is invisible, you start doubting yourself. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I'm too intense. Maybe I expect too much. But here's the truth. People who feel misunderstood often aren't emotionally weak. They're emotionally deep. They experience emotions in layers, not just sadness, but sadness mixed with meaning, memory, identity, context. Not just happiness, but joy mixed with vulnerability, gratitude, and relief. Their emotions aren't one note, they're chords. But most people respond at surface level, not because they don't care, but because their emotional vocabulary isn't built to go that deep. So when you offer something meaningful and receive something casual back, it feels like emotional mismatch, like you spoke poetry and heard small talk, and over time, that hurts. Another layer is internal complexity. Many people who feel misunderstood don't experience themselves as one simple, stable identity. They're multidimensional, curious, contradictory, torn between interests, deep thinkers, deep feelers. They often feel like several people living in one mind. But socially, most environments reward simplicity and consistency. So people learn one version of you, the work version, the calm version, the funny version, and they stick to that. And inside, you're thinking, That's not really me, that's one slice of me, which creates this strange experience of being known incorrectly. Not falsely, just incompletely. And that incomplete recognition can feel just as lonely as not being known at all. Now let's talk about the biology for a moment, but in human terms. People who often feel misunderstood usually have highly sensitive emotional awareness. Your brain notices emotional disconnection quickly and doesn't let it go. Even when nothing is wrong, something inside you stays unsettled, like quiet static in the background. Being liked meets your need for belonging. Being understood meets your need for identity. One makes you feel included. The other makes you feel real. When you aren't understood for a long time, you can feel lonely even when you're surrounded by people. Not physically alone, emotionally unseen. Humans need mirroring. We understand ourselves through being emotionally reflected by others. When someone truly gets you, your brain says, "Yes, that's me." When they don't, you slowly grow quieter. You explain less. You share less. You simplify yourself. Not on purpose, your nervous system learns that depth isn't received here, so it conserves energy by staying on the surface. Over time, that becomes exhausting, and a painful loop forms. The more misunderstood you feel, the less you express yourself. The less you express yourself, the more misunderstood you feel. Most advice says, just communicate better. But misunderstanding is often not a communication problem. It's a processing mismatch. Some people simply don't perceive emotional depth the same way. It's like describing color to someone who sees in grayscale. No one is wrong, but something will always be lost. So the goal isn't forcing clarity, it's learning where depth is possible. Not every kind person can meet your emotional depth. And that's not rejection. It's differentiation. Start noticing who feels good to laugh with, who feels safe to think with, who feels deep to talk to. Not everyone can be everything. Look for depth-compatible people. They ask thoughtful questions. They reflect your feelings. They sit with ambiguity. Around them, your body relaxes. You feel grounded. That's resonance. Even one or two relationships like that can ease the pain of being misunderstood everywhere else. Don't shut yourself down everywhere. Practice selective depth. Go deep where it's received. Stay light where it's not. Be neutral where needed. You don't owe everyone your inner world. You don't have to shrink to belong. Learn to translate without diluting. Instead of complex emotional language, use accessible words. Same truth. Wider doorway. Some people who feel chronically misunderstood may have ADHD, autism traits, high sensitivity, trauma, or attachment wounds. In those cases, this isn't just emotional, it's neurological. You're not broken. You're wired differently and need different environments. Here's the key shift. Stop asking, how do I make people understand me? Start asking, where can my depth land safely? Understanding isn't something you force. It happens when two nervous systems are compatible. When you stop trying to be understood by everyone, you often become more understood by the right people. You stop compressing yourself, you speak naturally, and the right people recognize you. When you feel misunderstood, don't tell yourself, I'm too sensitive, I'm too much, I'm broken. Try, this hurts because depth matters to me. This hurts because connection matters. This hurts because I feel deeply. Depth is not a flaw. It's a nervous system orientation. You're wired for meaning, resonance, and emotional texture. That comes with pain, but also empathy, creativity, and deep connection. You're not difficult. You're not excessive. You're not broken. You're probably deep in a shallow world. Most systems are built for speed and simplicity. You're built for nuance and reflection. They don't always match. But when they do, your depth becomes oxygen instead of burden. You stop feeling invisible. You stop over-explaining. You feel known. And that feeling is rare, but it's real. And you deserve it. You don't need to be understood by everyone. You only need to be understood by someone. You are not weak for wanting to be understood. You are not dramatic for needing emotional depth. You are responding to the world the way you're wired to. Your sensitivity is intelligence, not instability. Your awareness is a strength, not a burden. The right people won't ask you to shrink. They'll invite you to expand. They'll meet you in your depth. They'll recognize your inner world and remind you that you were never too much and that someone can eventually be you. You're not too much. You're just tuned differently. And in the right spaces, that difference becomes your strength.